Hi, welcome to Hot Seat, Redmos podcast. I'm very excited with our guest today. It's Mr. Jim Stroud, all the way from the States. I'm also known as the searchologist and God knows what else, but I'm sure he'll let us know. So introduce yourself, Jim. What do you do, how are you connected to recruitment, and all the other guises that people know you under?
Sure. My name is Jim Stroud, also known as the Searchologist, and the Searchologist is a website. It is a video series, and it is a magazine that teaches resume sourcing and lead generation strategies to recruiters all over the world.
Okay, and actually I follow a lot of Jim's stuff, and he's a giver. He gives out a lot of information. There's free tips as well as some tips that you pay for, but it's worth the investment. Tell us about some of your websites.
Well, I like to tell about a report that I recently released. Yep. One is called Which Sourcing Tools Should I Use?, where I reviewed 7 different resume sourcing tools and talked about their effectiveness. You know, what I like about them, what sucked, what didn't suck, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah.
And where do people get this report?
They would get it from the Searchologist, that's TheSearchologist.com.
Yeah, he's obviously said that a lot of times. So, and you know, Jim, why do you do this? Why are you putting out so much information out there and testing everything? What's driving all of that?
This is a passion. It's what I do. I've been in this for 10 plus years, and I've always been a tinkerer. I've always liked the web. I'm one of those early adopters, get on it first, and by the time everyone else gets on it, it's old to me, typically. So I just love experimenting. I love trying things out.
So technically, you could find anything. If someone was to test you a little challenge and go, all right, somewhere hidden in the web is this.
I'd give it a go. I'd give it a good go, sure.
Could I bet on you? Would it be worth betting on you to?
I think you have some smart money there. In all modesty.
Yeah, I think what Bill's trying to say here is he's pretty good at sourcing or researching on the net.
I've been told.
Very modest there. So let's talk about quick fire round, we call it now. Your best recruitment experience so far?
I think one of my best recruitment experiences so far may have been at Microsoft. I was on an international recruiting team, and there I was able to use social media, videos, blogs, podcasts to attract passive candidates and also to seek them out as well.
And what about your worst experience? Any shock, horror stories?
Shock or horror stories? There's one particular company, which I won't mention for fear of litigation, but there's one particular company who is very adverse to social media, who want to block all avenues and aspects of it, and they don't see the value in Facebook or LinkedIn or MySpace or Twitter as a recruiting tool at all. They see it pretty much as a time waster. So that particular company, if it's you and you know who you are, then I poo-poo on you. And your ideology.
Jim Stroud just poo-pooed on somebody, and I think he's poo-pooing on all those companies that aren't embracing social media there.
So true. Poo-poo. Poo-poo on you. Poo-poo.
How's recruitment going to look 5 years from now?
5 years. 5 years from now, recruitment is going to be very, I would say, incestuous, in the sense that there is a big move for filtering type of technology. You have Facebook being extremely popular, but you also have them launching out things like Facebook Lite, which is a slimmed-down version of Facebook. You have it where they are limiting the contacts you can have to like 5,000 contacts. You have Twitter launching their Twitter lists, where you have all your Twitter friends, but then you have your list of people you really, really want to follow. You have Google Buzz, which is a do-over of Google Wave, which is a way for you to keep contact with people you really, really know. So I think the trend is that while there's a lot of information out there and there are a lot of people you supposedly know, I think there's a trend going towards helping you stay in touch with people you actually know. Yeah. And so that being the case, when someone refers someone to you, you're going to actually know them. Or actually know them. I think that's what the future's going to be like. People are going to actually know each other, which is kind of weird because it's sort of a throwback to how it's always been. Yeah. So it's like everything old is going to be new again. Yeah. So,
okay, Jim, what about the argument? You know, there's a lot of noise online. What about the recruiter who does 360-degree recruiting? You know, they maybe get social media, they maybe don't. Isn't some social media a distraction to actually finding that candidate a job? I mean, are they not in danger of being distracted from the job at hand? Or, in your opinion, is it just going to help them?
I think it's just going to help them. I think it's also just depends on their outlook and the purpose. You know, if you go out there with a specific plan and a purpose and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, then yes. But if you go out there just sort of kicking the tires and looking around in the bushes to see what's out there, it's so easy to get lost in the weeds. Yeah. So I think it's a matter of establishing a plan and sticking with it.
Okay, and what's the best recruitment advice you've ever been given?
The best recruitment advice I've ever been given is to just do it.
That's Nike. Yeah. He's stealing Nike's, or Nike as they say in the States.
They're stealing from me. No.
Yeah. I'll go with that.
No, a lot of times people think it can't be done, or they're intimidated by a particular challenge, and whether you try or fail, you won't know until you actually do it. A lot of people are not using YouTube for recruiting, which I talked about earlier in one of the tracks, and when you look at people who are using YouTube for video or YouTube for recruiting or video in general, it's principally the military who are doing it well, or different schools. Yeah. And but if you take those two out of the equation, it's amazing how many companies are not using YouTube to its fullest extent.
Well, and also on that, is it the States that are really using YouTube for recruiting? I mean, how's the UK faring with that, with using that particular tool for recruiting?
I would say UK is behind in that. Yeah. You know, especially I've noticed that in a lot of things, the UK is behind the US in a lot of things. So typically when I see the US behind, everyone else seems to be far behind, at least from what I can tell.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Jim. But how about the listener or someone watching this who's sat in Dubai or maybe they're sat in New Zealand and they're listening to this going, using YouTube for recruiting? How the hell do you do that?
I would say if you go to thesearchologist.com, you will find how-to tutorials and videos that will explain ad nauseum how to do that, or they can subscribe to my magazine, because it's too much to say in a soundbite.
But from your perspective, it can be done, and it is being done.
It can be done. It is being done. It's being done cheap to free.
But is it better for certain sectors and disciplines than others?
I would say it's across the board, simply because YouTube has such a wide range of audiences. I mean, you have every age group represented, every demographic represented, it seems like. You know, as long as the person you want to attract is online or can see a video, then that's where you want to be.
Interesting. So do check that out, guys. It may be a new tool that you can have a look at. What about your favorite recruitment saying?
My favorite recruitment saying, I think, would either be happy hunting, or it would be see you later. I tend to end my messages that way. Saying happy hunting or you later.
Nice. And what about sum up the recruitment industry in 3 words?
Whew.
Jim Stroud is lost for words. I'm only allowing him 3.
Wow.
That's 1.
Wow. No.
That's it. That question's done.
Recruitment industry in 3 words is. Can I have 2 more words to that? And
yeah, you're nice. Yeah, I feel generous today. Have 2 more.
I would say, for me, I recruit, therefore I am.
I recruit, therefore I am. It's quite nice, quite philosophical, very deep there, Mr. Jim Stroud. You in a deep kind of mood today?
Yes. It's those cupcakes I had, those Redmos cupcakes.
Sugar Rush?
So good, so delicious. I'd invite anyone to have one of her cupcakes. They're so delish and nutritious.
Very good for the waistline.
And the bum.
And the skin. If you can tell, he's got good skin. Jim Stroud,
yes.
Advice to newcomers coming into the recruitment industry.
Advice to newcomers is to know your industry. So many recruiters jump on and say, I can do that. I've been on an interview, so I know how to recruit. And they don't really know. I would say choose a particular niche. Don't try to recruit everything. Become the recruiter for a particular niche. If you want to focus on healthcare, start to brand yourself as the healthcare recruiter. Because eventually, if you work for a corporate client, eventually you're going to move on to another job. Or if you work for an agency, you're going to work for another agency. And you don't want to keep building your brand around a particular company if one day you may eventually leave that company. Yeah. So start branding yourself as, say, for example, I'm Jim Stroud and I am the healthcare recruiter. And I only hire healthcare people. Then as you brand yourself out there and people know you, They may not remember the company you work for, but if they remember you and associate you as being the healthcare recruiter, they'll still send leads your way.
Yeah, well, I completely agree with that. And the way Redmos, or the way we kind of say this, exactly the same thing, is we say that what you're aiming for is to become an advisor in the eyes of your candidates or clients. So the minute they think that you're an advisor, your opinion is not only valued, but they seek it, it's sought after. So I totally agree with that. What about advice to somebody who's experienced in recruitment?
I would say be a giver. Show love, lots of love. I'll give an example of that. In 2002, the U.S. was going through a very bad recession. Not nearly as bad as now, but a recession nonetheless. And I would interview people, because at that time I was doing 360, the whole thing, finding the clients, hunting the food down, killing it, cooking it. All that.
Is it tasty?
Oh, yeah. And I would interview people, and then they would say, okay, Jim, I've talked to you, I put my resume on Monster, what else can I do? So I would tell them, 2 or 3 different things that you can do. And I found myself repeating myself all day, the same thing, because I interviewed so many people. So I wrote them all down and put it into like an ebook. And so when I interviewed someone, I say, look, you know what, I couldn't help you, I'm sorry, I wish I could, but let me send you this ebook of tips, and maybe that'll help you.
Oh, very nice.
I did that, passed it on to them. It went viral. This is in 2002. People started calling, asking for a copy of the book, or they've heard about me because of that book. One of my very good friends now is someone who read my ebook when he was in Japan and looked me up.
Wow.
And that's how we met through my ebook.
Wow.
And so I would go out to different job seeker networking groups, and when people started knowing my name, they would ask, "Will you see me a copy of it?" So I set up a blog, jimstroud.com, which is not just my website now. But I set that up, so when I'm out in the networking group, I say, look, go to jimstroud.com and download this book for job hunting tips. And people were so grateful for that, because I wasn't asking them for anything. I was giving them something to help them. And when they received information, they passed it on to so many other people, and I was building up a huge database that with little effort.